So I'm working on a 3D model of our container for our ghost kitchens. And this container will be used in various places. Right now for the NFT work. This is like a wireframe for our ghost kitchen that was scanned. I mean, it looks pretty much like the real thing, but there is so much reflectivity going on that there was a lot of sinkholes like in here and up here. So this is where I come in. Once I got this model in, the rest was just blocking in. Build the skeleton, and then build the outside rails, deciding down the line how I would want to not only texture this, but if I would want to animate this as it comes out, something for the wish list. And then phase one was just blocks, just polygon cubes. That would be cube modeling. Just start from a cube and extrude, and since this is hard surface acid, that's the best method for this. If I were doing a character like I have here already, I would start organically with digital clay like I've showed in other videos. But for this particular model, this hard surface model, the best way was to start with an actual cube. And that's how all these were birthed, except for like faucet, and this faucet. These were done with an old method, which I learned when I was first starting in college in 2000. I was really organic, and as far as my approach to modeling, and I used splines, NURBS, because they were so soft. NURBS, non-uniform rational B-spline. Bet you no one knew what that meant. People don't even know what that is. As far as students right now in modeling and 3D courses, probably don't even use it. I still use it because it's powerful, and you can easily extrude. You can get curves a lot faster. So if I go right side, and let's say I create, let's say this would be kind of like a faucet, and I go to curve point, extrude. So now I got myself like a faucet kind of. Of course, you would have to treat it. So you reverse the direction, and then you would modify it, convert NURBS to poly. So now we have a little wonderful tool here that will create this NURB, because the NURBS won't be used in the game engine. Since we want a polygon, we would just convert it. Center pivot, and this is how I would start like the faucet, clean it up later, move some edges around. So that same method is what I'm debating right now, if I want to use that. Maybe parts like these might be a little too polygon heavy, so I would probably want to go back and make these a little lighter to preserve poly count. Usually in game studios we have a budget. You have 40,000 poly count, you have 20,000, So I'm constantly thinking that way and communicating with the engineer, Bruce, and asking him how safe is it, and what direction should I go as far as detail. But a lot of these details can be achieved with texture too, so it is a balance. Right now we're at 23,000. This will probably decrease to like 20,000, which I think is pretty decent for a big piece like this. Characters about 13,000 for an NFT, for a GOB into a game engine or a platform like OpenSea. I think it should upload fairly decent, and not drag. There are a couple of things in here on decision making. For instance, this puppy right here with these piping, and then this water irrigation that goes to the sink and into the water tank. And I have some photos of it, but maybe I want to see a little more detail so I can decide how much of that to put. Same thing goes for maybe like the wheels down here. I already modeled them really low poly because you might not even see them, and I might even end up deleting them depending on the poly count at the end. But the fact that we do have the actual kitchen right next door really helps. So let's take a walk in there. I'm gonna take a look at these pieces in here and just take a look on how much detail and how much work it would take for me to put in there. So let's go to the Clucking Lucky Ghost Kitchen, since that's the one that we scanned and we have in photogrammetry. Photogrammetry. It's always hard to say that word. So there were things that the photogrammetry didn't catch because of reflection and certain limitations. Like for instance, those holes at the end right there. Me being a modeler, detail oriented, I would want to put those in there, but should I model those holes? That would just increase the poly count, so those could be textures. I come in here and I'm looking, all right, for instance, this case of a fire, like with this tubing, I can use that technique that I showed you with the NURB spline just to model that quick. That'll take me probably like 15 minutes. Model this out, 10 minutes. I think it's doable. I think it would matter too. Maybe this in here, these pipes here along, you know, if it's gonna take me a few minutes, I don't see why I wouldn't put it in. And it doesn't really need texture, maybe just a shader in there, you know. The same thing will go for these right here. And as a 3D modeler, that would matter because that would just raise my game up a little more. The same thing goes with these little pieces in here. So I don't have to model all this out. If the NFT was about just this tank, and then maybe, yeah. But the NFT is not about the tank, it's about the kitchen. You know, the same thing down here. So I would come down here and take a look at all this. So it connects to each one of these. Mental picture, boom, 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 curve, comes out, connects to this sink, comes out, boom. With the pictures I have and with that, with my visual of what I just saw, I can knock that out within like an hour, have all that done. This is what I modeled out earlier, and I think I made it too high a poly. Now that I look at it, this can just be one tube. Extrude, extrude, and just textures, boom, done. This is one of the last things left in the model to do. I would probably just extrude this door out. This would just probably be like another piece of polygon along with this, and this is way too much. I'll let the textures handle that. Same goes for this. I'll just maybe put a cube there and just, you know, even though this right here, now if I was a modeling supervisor and I saw this, I would be like, put that on there. That tells a story. Why is that there? Why is there a piece of tape there? As long as I get the basics, you know, and when the texture phase and the material creation comes around, just I'll come back in here as we are now. Aside from the photos, I'll come here and I'll look at the amount of roughness that there is here compared to here. The opaque on this counter, you know, the way this metal is a little more opaque than this metal, you know. Maybe some of it is like shaved, you know. So these are the things that matter also when lighting and texturing come around. Back here too. So, you know, these things right here, I didn't model none of that out. I didn't model that. It's way too much. That can be a normal map. That can be just sculpted in there, you know, within substance. Same thing for the light. I thought to myself, I want to model that because I want that emissions to come out with you know, physical based rendering. But then I thought we can mask that out. We can just use a normal map, mask out the circle, and emit from there, you know. Genius. Same thing for these buttons. I did model these out crudely because these will have occlusion underneath and the lighting will cast shadows and reflection off this. So I wanted this, but these can be textures. I modeled this one out because it's the biggest one. These can just be textures. It's fun. I love it. I'm always learning. Coming from a film background, you know, I'm constantly pushing myself and trying to bridge the gap, you know, between high level detail and high resolution polygons to, you know, low poly and medium poly, but still push the limits with decision making on what to model mixed with good textures and lighting. We're at the final stages now. The modeling's almost done. I'm going to do some polygon cleanup and check the poly count, which will lead into texture and light, which just brings everything just out. And then with PBR, it's real time. You'll be able to see the light interacting as you move the model around. Make sure you come back around and, you know, check out the model at its final stages.